Okay, so real talk, when's the last time you actually browsed the beauty aisle at Walmart instead of just grabbing your one thing and dipping out? Because if it's been a while, you are genuinely missing out, y'all. There's this whole underground world happening on those shelves. Brands that don't run Super Bowl ads, don't pay influencers six figures, don't even really market themselves that hard, and somehow they've built these massive, loyal, borderline obsessive followings anyway. The kind of following where women have been buying the exact same product for 15 years and would riot if it ever got discontinued. So today we're breaking down 6 Walmart beauty brands that quietly became full-on cult favorites. And I'm talking real numbers, real ownership reveals, actual company history, the whole thing, because a couple of these stories are honestly kind of wild once you dig into who's really behind them. Let's get into it. Number 6, Freeman Beauty. All right, so picture this. You're standing in the skincare aisle and there's this whole wall of face masks in these bright, colorful tubes, mint green ones, charcoal black ones, pink glittery ones. And chances are it's Freeman because they've basically owned the face mask category at mass retail for decades now. Freeman launched all the way back in 1976, and it built its whole identity around these nature-inspired, affordable spa-at-home masks, the kind of thing where you can grab 3 or 4 different ones for under $20 total and have yourself a whole self-care night without ever booking an appointment anywhere. The brand leaned into ingredients people could actually picture: Dead Sea minerals, charcoal, avocado, honey, stuff that felt more like a kitchen recipe than a chemistry lab, and that accessibility is a huge part of why it became such a staple with a younger, budget-conscious crowd who wanted the spa experience without the spa price tag. Here's the ownership piece though, because it's not some scrappy little indie brand anymore. It actually got bought out by Yellowwood Partners, a private equity firm, back in 2018, in a deal that also brought in another beauty company called Paris Presence into the same portfolio. So there's real institutional money behind this thing now. Quietly funding a brand a lot of people still think is just a random drugstore label somebody started in their garage. That's the pattern you're gonna see a few times on this list, actually. A brand feels small and personal on the shelf, but there's a private equity firm or a bigger company sitting behind the curtain, making sure it keeps growing. That's Freeman at number 6, and honestly, the next one on this list has one of the more surprising origin stories of the whole video, because it didn't start in a lab or a boardroom, it started on YouTube. Number 5, Heritage by Mindy. Here's a scenario for you, your kid, or maybe you yourself back in the day. Used to watch these YouTube hair tutorial videos from a channel called Cute Girls Hairstyles, run by a mom named Mindy McKnight, who was just braiding her daughter's hair in her living room and somehow built one of the biggest hair tutorial channels on the entire platform, racking up millions of subscribers over the years just from teaching braids and updos for free. Well, that following turned into an actual product line, Heritage by Mindy, and it's a Walmart exclusive brand, meaning you're not finding this one at Target or Ulta. It lives at Walmart specifically, which is honestly kind of rare for a creator-led brand these days, since most of them chase Sephora or Ulta first. It was developed with an incubator called Mesa, the same type of company behind a bunch of these celebrity and influencer-backed lines you've probably heard of, and it's built around genuinely accessible price points, shampoos and conditioners and styling products that don't break $10 or $12 most of the time, which fits perfectly with the kind of budget-friendly, family-focused audience that grew up watching Mindy's tutorials in the first place. What's wild is how quietly this thing built its audience. No huge ad campaign, no celebrity endorsement deal, just years and years of trust from a YouTube community that grew up watching Mindy do their favorite hairstyles, and now a good chunk of those same people are buying her actual products off the shelf without ever needing to be convinced by an ad. That's honestly the blueprint for a cult brand. You don't need flashy marketing if you've already spent a decade earning genuine trust, and Heritage is proof that a following built slowly and authentically can turn into real retail success. Number 5, heritage, and next up, we've got a brand that's been quietly dominating Walmart's makeup aisle since before a lot of you were even into makeup. Number 4, Profusion Cosmetics. Okay, round 4, and this one's kind of the definition of flying under the radar. Profusion Cosmetics is this independent company out of Chino, California, founded back in 1999, and for a long time it was mostly known for these massive 21-shade eyeshadow palettes that would run you $10 or less, at a time when most eyeshadow palettes with that many shades were sitting closer to $30 or $40 on department store counters. When Profusion officially launched inside Walmart, it leaned hard into that same pitch. Huge pigmented palettes, lip kits, face products, basically everything you'd want for a full face at a price point that made it almost impossible to say no, and it worked because those palettes started showing up in makeup hauls and drugstore roundups all over social media. And here's the thing that makes this one different from a lot of brands on this list. Profusion never got scooped up by some giant beauty conglomerate. It's still its own independent company pulling in real revenue, reportedly somewhere around $18 million a year, which for a brand most people can't even name off the top of their head is honestly kind of impressive when you think about how crowded the drugstore makeup space actually is. It built its cult following almost entirely through word of mouth and beauty hauls, people showing off 21 shades of pigment for the price of a fast food meal. And unlike some of these brands where the hype was manufactured by a big marketing budget, this one genuinely grew because the product to price ratio was just that good and people wanted to talk about it. Number 4, Profusion. And now we're getting into the brands where the ownership story actually gets pretty interesting, because the next 2 on this list are secretly connected in a way most shoppers have no idea about. Number 3, Black Radiance. So here's a scenario. You're a woman with deeper skin tones, and for years, walking into a drugstore meant scrolling through wall after wall of shades that just didn't match you, foundations that oxidized wrong or left an ashy cast, until you found Black Radiance, sitting quietly in the same aisle, actually built for a broader range of deeper, richer undertones from the very beginning instead of as an afterthought. This brand has been around for over 3 decades now, specifically focused on serving women of color with foundations and concealers and powders that actually work with a full spectrum of skin tones, and it's built a genuinely loyal customer base, largely through that consistency, women who've been buying the same shade for years because it's one of the few drugstore options that's never let them down. Here's the ownership reveal. Black Radiance is owned by a company called Markwins, which is actually the largest independent cosmetics company in the entire country, privately held, not publicly traded, and Markwins picked up Black Radiance all the way back in the early 2000s as part of a bigger acquisition that also brought in a couple other well-known names. What's honestly a little uncomfortable here is that Black Radiance markets itself really heavily around representation and community. Campaigns built entirely around uplifting Black beauty and Black voices, but the company sitting behind it isn't Black owned. It's run by the Markwins leadership team, so you're getting genuinely solid, well-formulated products. You just might not know the full story behind who's actually profiting from that marketing message. Number 3, Black Radiance, and speaking of Markwins, our next pick is owned by that exact same company, which is a pretty wild coincidence once you actually see it sitting right there on the shelf next to it. Number 2, Wet n Wild. All right, round 2, and this is where that ownership thread from the last brand pays off, because Wet n Wild is also owned by Markwins, that same independent beauty giant we just talked about, meaning 2 brands on this list, sitting on the same Walmart shelf, sometimes just a few feet apart, are secretly siblings under one roof. Wet n Wild built its whole reputation on being cheap without being trash. We're talking a full face foundation, concealer, highlighter for under $15 total, and it's been doing that since basically 1979. Making it one of the longest running drugstore brands still relevant today. The real cult moment for this brand, though, came from products like the Photo Focus Foundation and the Mega Glow highlighters, stuff that racked up thousands and thousands of glowing reviews from people who kept repurchasing it over and over, not because it was trendy or viral, but because it just genuinely worked. And that kind of repeat customer is way harder to earn than a one-time viral moment. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't clock. Wet n Wild has stayed cruelty-free this entire time, officially part of PETA's cruelty-free program, which a surprising number of much pricier prestige brands still can't say for themselves. So when you're buying Wet n Wild, you're not just saving money, you might actually be making a more ethical choice without even realizing it. Number 2, Wet n Wild, and now the biggest name on this entire list, a brand that basically turned Walmart's beauty aisle into a genuine cultural moment, one that a lot of people don't even realize started as a budget brand in the first place. Real quick, before we get to number 1, if you're vibing with this kind of breakdown, this is basically what we do every single day on this channel, digging into who actually owns your favorite drugstore brands and whether they're actually worth it. So subscribing just means you don't miss the next one. No biggie. Okay, let's get into it. Number 1, ELF Cosmetics. Okay, number 1, and it's gotta be ELF because this brand didn't just become a Walmart cult favorite, it became one of the biggest growth stories in the entire beauty industry, period, and Walmart has been a massive part of that expansion story alongside its Target and Ulta presence. The average ELF product costs around $6.50, which is genuinely cheaper than most other mass brands out there, and yet during a stretch where a lot of major cosmetics companies were flat or even shrinking, ELF was the one still posting real growth quarter after quarter, grabbing market share in an industry where that almost never happens for the cheapest player on the shelf. Here's the thing that made it a cult brand specifically. ELF built its entire strategy around taking beloved luxury products and releasing genuinely comparable versions within weeks. The Halo Glow liquid filter chasing that Charlotte Tilbury glow, the Poreless Putty Primer going after a favorite, and shoppers noticed that they talked about it constantly online and they kept coming back for more. And get this, ELF's own CEO has described the company as basically an entertainment business that happens to sell makeup. And that mindset is exactly why the brand felt less like a corporate machine and more like something people actually wanted to be a fan of, sold everywhere from Walmart to Sephora at basically the exact same price either way, which is genuinely rare in this industry. Number 1, ELF, proof that you can build a genuine cult following without ever needing a luxury price tag to back it up, and honestly, proof that Walmart's beauty aisle has been sitting on some of the biggest success stories in the entire industry the whole time. All right, so let's run it all the way back. Number 6 was Freeman, private equity backed, but still the face mask king. Number 5 was Heritage by Mindy, built off years of YouTube trust turned into a Walmart exclusive line. Number 4 was Profusion, still independent, still doing 21 shades for $10. Number 3 was Black Radiance, 30 years strong for deeper skin tones, owned by Markwins. Number 2 was Wet n Wild, Black Radiance's secret sibling under that same Markwins umbrella. And number 1, obviously, ELF, the $6 brand that outgrew half the industry. Here's my honest takeaway from all this. Cult status isn't about the price tag or the packaging. It's about a brand actually delivering consistently enough that people stop needing to be convinced. And every single one of these 6 did exactly that without a fraction of the marketing budget the big luxury names throw around every single year. Tell me down in the comments, y'all, which one of these have you actually tried? And is there a Walmart brand you think deserved a spot on this list that I missed? Because I already know some of you are going to have thoughts on this one. If this was useful, go ahead and subscribe because tomorrow we're ranking the exact opposite 6 Walmart beauty products that are honestly kind of a waste of your money, and a few of them might genuinely surprise you. Thanks for watching DupeAudit. Catch y'all in the next one.